Right, so Gooseworx has been dropping hints again. And honestly, this time they're actually quite revealing. We've got new one-word descriptions for episodes 8 and 9, and I reckon they tell us way more than you might think at first glance. Plus, there's this whole thing with Jax that I need to talk about because it's been driving me mental trying to piece it all together. Let's dig in, shall we? So you probably remember when Goose gave us those original one-word descriptions for every episode, yeah? Episode 8 was just labeled O, which, thanks for that. Really helpful. I mean, episodes 3 and 6 made sense with their descriptions, but the rest were so vague you could interpret them however you wanted. Anyway, someone over on Blue Sky wasn't having it and straight up asked Goose for better descriptions. And fair play, she delivered. Episode 8 is now described as fun, and episode 9 as long. Now that's actually interesting because these words give us proper clues, not just about the episode dropping on March 20th, but about the finale as well. Let's tackle episode 9 first. When Goose says long, there's really only two ways to read that, isn't there? Either the finale is going to be absolutely massive in terms of runtime, we're talking maybe close to an hour, or she's hinting at something more metaphorical. You know, like a long journey, a long wait, maybe the characters finally making their way out of the digital circus after all this time. Honestly though, I don't think Goose would spoil something that significant right now. So I'm leaning toward the runtime interpretation. Makes more sense, doesn't it? If we look back at that leaked info about the total runtime for episodes 6 through 9, which had about 150 minutes total, we've already used roughly 66 minutes with episodes 6 and 7, including credits. That leaves around 84 minutes for episodes 8 and 9. Now, if episode 9 really is going to be the longest in the series, then episode 8 is probably going to clock in around the usual length, maybe 32 to 34 minutes, which would mean episode 9 could be pushing 50 minutes. That's proper long for an animated episode, isn't it? Obviously, this is all speculation, and we don't know if Goose was counting credits or not, but I'd love to hear what you reckon the runtimes will be. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Right, now on to episode 8 and this fun description. I've got a theory about this, and I think quite a few people are thinking along the same lines. We still haven't seen the amusement park properly, have we? Remember that teaser glitch showed us ages ago, before episode 2 even came out? There was this whole mini adventure teased at what looked like a theme park inside the circus. But here we are, a year and a half later, and we've explored loads of locations. The tent, that creepy lake, all sorts. But no amusement park. Not a single glimpse. Here's the thing. Episode 7 left everyone absolutely emotionally wrecked. Every character is drained, traumatized, barely holding it together. So what if Kane decides they need a break? What if instead of throwing them into another nightmare adventure, he goes, right, you lot need to decompress. Let's have some fun. Enter the amusement park. Unlimited fun, distraction, a chance to forget the horror they've just been through. The characters might actually agree to it, not because they trust Kane, but because they desperately need a moment to breathe before they start planning their escape properly. If that's the case, then both descriptions, fun for episode 8 and long for episode 9, start to make perfect sense together, don't they? But here's where it gets properly interesting. We need to talk about who the real central figure of the digital circus is right now, Jax. This character has taken us on an absolute emotional roller coaster. Hasn't he? First, everyone loved him, then everyone hated him, and now the entire fandom is just completely confused about who he actually is. And that's deliberate. The creators are doing this on purpose. They're messing with us for a reason. So here's my other theory about that word fun in episode 8. What if it's directly connected to Jax? Everything lately has been pointing toward him being on the verge of abstraction, right? But now we're starting to see signs that ribbit. This new character everyone's talking about is going to play a major role in the next episode. And by the way, I'm working on a massive video about Ribbit where I'll explain exactly why she's so crucial to the story. It goes way beyond just her friendship with Jax, trust me. What if Goose's hint about episode 8 being fun means we're finally going to see the real Jax? Not the depressed, broken version we've been watching spiral. Not the guy barely holding it together, but the genuine Jax, the one who actually radiates joy and fun. What if all those warning signs about his abstraction just disappear? To understand why that would be such a big deal, we need to properly break down what's actually been happening to Jax, because I don't think everyone fully gets it. Remember that moment at the Digital Circus Awards? That was the turning point. That's when Jax realized that his whole cool guy who doesn't care act wasn't working anymore. In fact, it was actively hurting him. And it was made so much worse by the fact that every single day, he's walking past the doors of his friends who've been abstracted, people who genuinely mattered to him. Before episode 6, Jax probably wasn't having panic attacks regularly, but the fact that he knew exactly what to do during that panic attack we saw, that tells us it had happened before, at least a few times. He'd been dealing with it by hiding behind that mask, that persona of his. But the moment that mask started hurting the people he could have actually become friends with, the whole thing began to crumble. From the very start of episode 7, Jax looks completely different. He's visibly depressed, totally checked out, disengaged from everything. That was the first major warning sign, and then it got worse. When Jax was around the others, even if he was distant, he still felt like part of something. But once he was alone, he completely sank into his own thoughts. And then came those visions, those disturbing hallucinations. Now here's what's odd. Jax claimed he was just sleeping. On one hand, maybe that's true, but then what were those hallucinations? Just a dream? Because it didn't look like a normal dream, did it? Especially when he sank into them right after touching Ribbit's hand during that vision. I reckon Jax lied. He said he was sleeping so the others wouldn't realize he's losing his mind, that he's one step away from abstraction. And that might have been his biggest mistake, because remember what we learned in the pilot? Kaufmo had become withdrawn before he abstracted. Isolation seems to be what pushes people over the edge. Let's talk about what we saw during Jax's panic attacks, because this is crucial. We got glimpses of his real life, shots of a road, a residential area, and if you look closely at the signs, one's a speed limit, another warns about pedestrians crossing. These images pop up in Jax's head during his panic attack, which tells us something pretty heavy. Jax was responsible for a car accident in his real life. Someone died, and from the looks of it, he fled the scene. That's been haunting him forever. And here's the thing. These memories didn't just randomly appear. They surfaced at a very specific moment. When Jax had his complete breakdown, that's when he realized Kane had been getting inside his head this whole time. And this is where everything clicks into place. After Jax figured out that Kane was manipulating him, I think the panic attacks and visions stopped. Not because Jax is magically better, but because he now understands that showing weakness makes him vulnerable. Kane's been preying on that. Think about it. Kane waits for someone to start struggling mentally, then gradually worms his way into their head. He shows them disturbing images, reminds them of traumatic memories, and keeps pushing until they isolate themselves completely. That's when abstraction happens. Jax became the perfect target because he's overwhelmed with negative thoughts, painful memories, terrible guilt. Kane's been adding fuel to that fire, trying to finish him off. But for some reason, he couldn't quite manage it, and I don't think he will anymore. Here's what I think happened. Jax figured it out. He realized that isolating himself, exactly what Kane wanted, would be the worst possible thing he could do. Those hallucinations were basically screaming that he was almost done for. So instead of pulling away from everyone, Jax is going to do the opposite. He's going to open up, connect with the others, maybe even with Ribbit, who seems like she's going to be crucial to pulling him back from the edge. And that's episode 8 being described as fun makes perfect sense. We might finally see Jax come back to himself, the real him. Not the broken version, not the guy pretending to be fine, but someone who's actually okay. So yeah, that's my take on what's coming. Episode 8 could be the moment Jax finally starts to heal, possibly with a much-needed break at the amusement park. And episode 9, that's going to be the big one, the long finale where everything comes to a head. What do you think? Do you reckon Jax is going to pull through, or is there something else going on that we're all missing? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to hear your theories. All right, that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers!